Hi guys, welcome back to another YouTube tutorial. My last two videos have received lots of love and appreciation from all of you, and we are 925 plus strong follower subscribers now, and I love interacting with all of you. So whenever you send me questions on Messenger or your wonderful comments in the comment box, I really appreciate that a lot, because when I had started this YouTube channel, I not expected so much love and support from you, and that love and support helps me to create better lectures. I won't call it content because this is not actually content. These are just discussions, academic discussions on topics which I as a resident find difficult, and which I'm sure those who are learning pathology or those who are beginners are going to find difficult and problematic. So, continuing with that, now I'm on to my next hematpath topic. I had said once I finish with hemolytic anemias, I had interjected with approach to acute leukemias on request from some of the postgraduates. I've done that, and that has received a lot of love. So, thank you so much. And now I'm again jumping back to anemias because I need to finish benign before I shift to malignant. And today I'll be starting with something that I find a very interesting topic in benign hematology, because this is one topic of benign hematology which clinically becomes a differential in malignant hematology, especially MDS. So what I'm going to be teaching you is bone marrow, in fact discussing with you, not teaching you, is bone marrow failure syndromes, the IBMFs. And IBMFs is a wide range of disease, and it has a lot of presentations, a lot of subparts to it, because what the word inherited bone marrow failure, or to be very precise, bone marrow failure, means that in the trilineage hematopoiesis, any one of the component of the trilineage hematopoiesis is defective, or all the three components are defective. There is failure of the bone marrow to perform its normal hematopoietic function. Now, this topic has been covered in great detail by both Indian as well as international authors. So, what I'll be my approach to discussing this would be A to NU. I have before that, let me tell you, I've divided it into 3-4 parts. I'm going to be giving you an overview of some acquired or inherited syndromes, which are bilineage or trilineage failures. I'll be dealing more with erythroid failures right now, focusing more on aplastic anemias. I'll be giving you a very short intro of a few topics of IBMS, including the megakaryocytic lineage. There are certain topics which I would be taking in detail, like CDA, sideroblastic anemia, etc. I'll be taking up in detail because they are very important. You are going to get cases, you are going to be asked in exams also. In the entire spectrum of IBMF, aplastic anemia, which I am taking today, clinically is very important, both in pediatric and adult cases, as well as is important for your theory and practical exams. Why is it important? Because it is, as I said, this group constitutes, I'm calling it benign because they are in general benign diseases, benign morphologies, which are differentials clinically as well as sometimes morphologically to clonal malignant hematopoietic disorders. So without wasting much time, me I am going to be first dealing with the erythroid lineage when it gets affected. I have told you that IBMF means, or to be particular, BMF means bone marrow failure. When as said, when the three lineages are not performing their functions properly, are not being able to produce themselves properly, but there is some defect in the trilineage hematopoiesis. Now I'm going to be showing you today in this short 15-20 minutes tutorial inherited syndromes. I'll show you a chart. You need to remember the specific points for all of those, and what investigations we perform. Mostly this will be asked as a tabulated question. If you give a table, you'll get full marks. Aplastic anemias. A bit about PRCA and CDA, but these last 4 topics, especially CDA and sideroblastic anemias and iron overload and porphyrias, I am going to be taking in detail separately also. So moving ahead, So this chart, the image is not that good, I'm sorry. This is from Tejinder Singh sir's book. You can take that image from there. Remember this chart, and you know your work for the IBMFs, the inherited disorders, is done. So Fanconi's anemia and CDA. In Fanconi's anemia, okay, one more thing that I want to tell you as a diagnostic catch point, if you are interested in like doing a DM clinical hematology as a pathologist, is uh, most of these IBMFs have morphological syndromic appearance in a child. Okay, so what they do is you will see maybe some sort of a musculoskeletal abnormality, or you might get pigmentations, or you might get problems in the thenar and the hypothenar eminence. There is atrophy or thinning of the eminence. Then pigmentations are very common. You have to look for cafe au lait spots. Those are brownish macular spots on the body. So these are few of the catch points that you get. So like in Fanconi's anemia, you need to remember that it is autosomal recessive. All the three lineages, myeloid, erythroid, and megakaryocytic, are affected. And the chromosomal breakage, the point is there's breakage in the chromosome, and that is the pathogenesis, and the patient presents with pancytopenia. So when someone presents with pancytopenia with skeletal or morphological dysmorphism in a way, then you should and anemia and pancytopenia, as I said, then you should think of IBMF, especially if it's a pediatric case. Then coming to congenital dyserythropoietic anemia, in Sir's book, three types are mentioned. On the net, you are going to get a fourth type has been added, which is under study, and the textbooks mention it. If you search the net extensively, you can get 6 types of CDA actually. And the cell line again affected is erythroid. A catch point of CDA is that myeloid and megakaryocytic lineage will be normal, but the PS would look like a megaloblastic anemia. And what there are multiple actually, but I'll tell you one very catch apart from something called gigantoblasts. One very catchy catch point thing in CDA is intranuclear bridging. Now, what it means is that two normoblasts, supposing in the bone marrow you see, and then there is the nucleus of the normoblast, and then there is this sort of a bridging between the nucleus. So this is known as intranuclear bridging. It is a thin thread-like bridge. However, I will take in detail the topic of CDA in my further lectures. Okay. Then comes Diamond-Blackfan syndrome. Again, autosomal recessive or dominant erythroid lineage disorder. Ribosomal disruption is there and presents with anemia. Then telomerase disease, dyskeratosis congenita, more commonly X-linked, and monocytopenia is there. So, you know, these are very characteristic points, although all the three lineages are affected over here. Then Kosman syndrome, TAR, I've got an image of TAR. Kosman's has myeloid disorder with neutropenia. TAR, absent radius on radiology you are going to see, and it is a megakaryocytic IBMF. SDA, Schaumann diamond, autosomal recessive or dominant erythroid lineage, again anemia. See, most of them are anemias actually. Pearson's, you are going to get vacuolation as well as anemia, erythroid bleeding is affected. You will get pancreatic insufficiency, and a child will have a spectrum of clinical symptoms. GATA2 spectrum disorders is very, very important. Megakaryocytes show characteristic dysplasia. So when you see something and a smear, a bone marrow where megakaryocytes are showing dysplasia, think of GATA2, because GATA2 is also associated with acute myeloid leukemias. So you have to be very, very, so as I said, IBMS come in DD of clonal disorders like MDS, because there's dysplasia as well as acute myeloid leukemias. And then of course severe congenital neutropenia is there, CSF3R mutation you all know. So these are the some of the important IBMs. A better chart for this, where I have also outlined the genes which are defective. You should know this for your DM exams. As I said, most of them are DDs for cancer causing conditions, and males are affected more than females in most of them. All right. So before I come to aplastic anemia, which is also a kind of bone marrow failure, the IBMF group always remember pancytopenia, bicytopenia or anemia with musculoskeletal disorder. You have to, and the PS and the bone marrow show some dysbiosis or some very characteristic features, you have to think of IBMF. And then of course, caution the clinician for progression of the disease. Coming to the, now this chart is also given in Tejinder Singh sir's book, this entire what aplastic anemia is divided into. The word aplasia means inability to proliferate and form hematopoietic cells. Aplasia, A means complete absence. Hypoplastic means reduced cellularity, but above a cutoff of 20%. This is a WHO standard cutoff. All right. Aplasia means below that. Means there is only stroma and only fat, which is otherwise related to age of the patient when you do the bone marrow, and you cannot see trilineage hematopoiesis. What you can see in the marrow are lymphocytes and plasma cells. They are the most resistant ones and last to go. What are the causes? Inherited, I have shown you Fanconi's anemia, dyskeratosis congenita. Acquired. Most common clinical history that you're going to get in an acquired case is that of pesticide exposure or treatment from a quack. Ayurvedic, homeopathic, I don't know what, they give heavy metals exposure or something, some sort of drug induced suppression or exposure to pesticides. So if I'm sitting in the OPD, I always and always take that history, that whether you are you a farmer, or you or you or the child, if it's a young child 15-20 years, are you exposed to farming or spraying the pesticides in your father's farm, etc. Another very relevant DD2 aplastic anemia in young cases is PNH. Once you diagnose something as aplastic anemia, always and always before you transfuse blood, mostly you won't get that, because the aplastic anemia comes to you with hemoglobin 5, 4, something like that, and they are already transfused. So we take history ki 15 days may have you been transfused or not, and if you've not, and if the child says that no, I have not been transfused, we perform a PNH clone analysis there and there, asking the affordability of course, and there are various government programs also which help them out. So idiopathic is when the cause is not known. Then comes your aplastic anemia, and the most associated with, see, I told you PNH, where you do a clone analysis. MDS, hypoplastic MDS is a very close differential to aplastic anemia, and then lymphomas like LGL. Then, as I said, parvovirus B19 infection, drugs, radiation, any previous history of chemo, autoimmune disorders, all these are causes of bone marrow suppression. What you get is this kind of an atypical lymphoid cell and no other cell, absent platelet, normocytic to macrocytic, peripheral smear picture. And macrocytosis less than 110, of course, between 90 and 110. Beyond that, it is mostly megaloblastic, because megaloblastic anemia also presents with pancytopenia and can present with hyper, normo, or hypocellular marrow. So these are all differentials. Remember, marrow में cellularity नहीं है, aplastic, PNH, MDS as a closed DD. Also think of B12. Look for changes of B12, which I've already dealt with in nutritional anemia. So you'll get an atypical cell like this, which I have marked. You might think this is a blast, but this is not. The chromatin is even not that atypical, heterochromatic, opened up, of course, no nucleoli. Yes, it looks like a hand mirror, but a typical hand mirror blast also has changes in the chromatin. So this is an atypical lymphoid cell, and if you do the marrow, you are going to get such hypocellular fragment. And these are all fat and stromal cells, not erythroid cells. Please don't confuse. Maybe some lymphocytes over here, and this is few few hematopoietic mid-series cells, but mostly this is fat and nothing else. So the grade of aplastic anemia, that is greater than 2 cytopenias with bone marrow. Here you see less than, this is not only also 10%. This is toluidine blue. Soft criteria to find out whether this is aplastic or not, which we use, is we do toluidine blue to look at mast cells. This is a soft criteria, not very well documented, but if the number of mast cells are increased, then we presume that yeah, this could be aplastic as compared to an MDS or a PNH, or maybe this level of hypoplasia is not caused by B12 actually. So if we divide it into moderate, severe, and very severe, moderate is less than 25% cellularity. You see that is a constant in all. Okay. Greater than 2, that is ANC less than equal to 1000, platelet less than 50k, reticulocyte less than 20k. If it is severe, this is moderate, then less than 500, and both platelet and retic less than 20. And if it is very severe, then less than 200, and platelet and retic less than 20. So what changes is from 1500 to 200. The ANC goes down, and the platelet is less than 50k in moderate, and then less than 20k. And consider SNP array, and NGS of course is important. As I showed you a list of molecular abnormalities in IBMF, they might be coexisting. Aplastic anemia might be their representation in the marrow. All right. Again, these are pictures from Sir's book. And you see how the cellularity is decreasing. There's a large bone marrow core. The picture has, I don't know, cropped a bit. Okay, one thing important I want to tell you, in adult marrows, the first 1 to 2 to 3 subcortical spaces are physiologically hypoplastic. So don't call that aplastic. If the marrow is small, 0.5, and you're getting that, then you are going to label as inadequate, rather than calling it aplastic, and then ask for a bigger core if aplasia is suspected. To differentiate this from MDS, what we do is we do a iron stain and look for, sideroblasts or increased iron stores. That is one pointer, and that is why I put a picture of iron stain. So one differential from MDS. Differential from PNH is that PNH might give such a hypoplastic marrow with patchy erythroid pockets. And those erythroid pockets may point at presence of a PNH, because there is erythroid hyperplasia because of hemolysis. Okay, and B12 doesn't give this kind of hypocellularity usually, and you'll get other features. So I told you, in a healthy individual, this is how a marrow looks. PNH, hypoplastic, but look for erythroid pockets and perform clonal studies. MDS, a lot of dysplasia, and this is aplasia. Fine, and then this is stressed erythropoiesis. See some megaloblastoid features, not tick, cribriform, spongiform nucleus, and then this is actually stress hematopoiesis. This is not MDS or B12O, but stress hematopoiesis is when there are a lot of cells dying outside. The marrow is in stress to produce more, and hence they are not maturing, and you're getting this kind of an immature look. Then bone marrow biopsy, this is showing, this is an MDS patient, hyperplastic marrow head, dysplasia head. This is not aplastic. Why I've put there is that in MDS, we perform a stain known as CD34 to catch presence of blasts or precursors, which are very, very pathognomic in MDS with excess blasts. Again, hypoplastic marrow, this I've just shown you that sometimes pancytopenia is not because of hypoplasia but because of fibrosis, like in primary myelofibrosis or infiltration of the marrow, or a marrow post chemo or post treatment, or even in bony disorders like osteopetrosis. Vitamin D deficiency does not give such massive fibrosis, but it does. I have also seen a case where we had a lot of myelofibrosis, and I don't know, just came out as B12 deficiency. Not very well documented, I think. If I'm wrong, then please correct me. I have not seen a case of B12 deficiency with panmyelosis or complete absence with myelofibrosis. So yeah, these are other causes also why you might get a dry tap or a pancytopenia. Difference is that when you suck the marrow of a aplastic anemia and spread it on the smear, and you hold it against the light, the fat particles are shining on the slide. You can see it in unstained slide grossly. That will not be there in myelofibrosis. Okay, everything is overlapping. This I wanted to show you. This is a very good diagram I got from the net. See, PNH, aplastic, MDS, which is now divided into ICUS, IDUS, CCUS. These are new entities. Idiopathic cytopenia of undetermined significance, idiopathic dysplasia of undetermined significance, then RCCs, refractory childhood cytopenias. So there are these a lot of then clonal cytogenetic lesions, there are other lesions. Then there are clonal cytopenias of undetermined significance. So there are CHIP, clonal hematopoietic precursors present in the bone marrow, especially in old age people, and they are showing clonality. They are looking like blasts, but their significance is not. They are not causing acute leukemia. They're not causing full-blown MDS. So they are somewhere in the gray zone, which the WHO has not yet incorporated, but probably it will incorporate in the next fascicle maybe. So everything is an overlap where IBMF, MDS, PNH, and later on they all might develop into AML. So the aplastic anemia will have aplasia, tri-lineage reduction, no organomegaly with hypocellular marrow. MDS always, with all these features, look for dysbiosis and chromosome abnormalities. Okay, monosomy 7, 5, etc. PNH, CD55, CD59, thrombosis, intravascular hemolysis, and aplasia. Okay, always remember this. Then PRCA, see, this is just a comparative, PRC is complete absence. Parvovirus is very commonly causing complete absence of erythroid. CDA will show you megaloblastoid features, gigantoblast. MCV commonly normal, MCV will be normal, microcytic, macrocytic. Retic decreased in both because RBCs are not getting formed properly. Bone marrow, marked erythroid hypoplasia. There will be hypoplasia with certain features which I'll discuss later on. Pathogenesis, marked hypoerythropoiesis, most likely due to ribosomal biogenic defect. This is congenital PRCA. Acquired is due to maybe suppression. And here you see SEC23B, CDN1, they are genetic mutations. Okay, and so I'm going to take this later on in detail. This I wanted to show you. See, in a normal marrow, you're going to get these erythroid colonies or cells. In a PRCA, no erythroid. Sometimes, if it is acquired, you might get a large erythroblast, proerythroblast with inclusion, which is of parvovirus, or dog earring like this. My diagram is not very good, pardon me, but you're going to get a cytoplasmic blebbing like a dog's here. DB, I have told you, congenital erythroid aplasia, differentiated from PRCA by looking at, the MCV, etc. parameters, and if it is acquired, then looking for parvovirus. Craniofacial abnormalities, macrocytic anemia, reticulocytopenia will be there. Steroids is the diamond blackfan versus TC. There's something known as transient erythroblastopenia of childhood, and there is diamond blackfan. This image should not have been here. This is PRC actually. This is the dog earring, and this is the parvovirus inclusion. So TEC is acquired due to maybe some viral infection. DBA is inherited. 50% of DBA will have abnormalities in the musculoskeletal system, but none in TC. Hemoglobin between 1.2 to 10, between 2.4 to 10.6 grams. ANC less than 1000. In DBA has more prominent manifestation of ANC and pancytopenia and anemia as compared to TC. TSC is just erythroblastopenia. It is transient and self-recoverable. Platelet is greater than 4 lakhs in maximum of the TC. Less than 1 lakh in more DBA. So DBA has more tendency to pancytopenia with less of erythroid, anemia. ANC is reduced as I have shown you earlier, and it is inherited with musculoskeletal problems. Other causes of getting a aplastic marrow can be autoimmune, collagen vascular diseases, lymphoproliferative diseases, parvovirus, thymomas, drugs, and other toxic agents. Pearson's, I told you, pancreatic insufficiency and myeloid and erythroid lineage will show vacuolation. Acquired, I have already mentioned. TAR, congenital thrombocytopenia with megakaryocytic hypoplasia, and acquired thrombocytopenia with megakaryocytic hypoplasia. All these show reduced megakaryocytes in the marrow. Okay. This is an image of TAR. You cannot see a radius over here. And if you see the marrow, this is from Sear's book again. No megakaryocyte is seen, but myeloid lineage is seen properly. Other causes of pancytopenia in a hypocellular marrow, aplastic anemia, hypoplastic MDS, chemo, Fanconi, IBMFs basically. Cellular marrow with pancytopenia, B12, hypersplenism, Kala-Azar, autoimmune, metastasis, Gaucher's, storage disease, and when the marrow is infiltrated, then also there's pancytopenia in like leukemic leukemias, hairy cell leukemias, MDS, PNH can have good cellularity, erythroid hyperplasia, but showing pancytopenia. Finally, what are the pancytopenia with hypocellular marrows as DD of aplastic, acquired and inherited aplasia, MDS, leukemias, lymphomas. So these are my sources, and this has stretched to 25 minutes, but I hope this helped. And next, again, I'm going to be taking a cytopath tutorial, and after that, another IBMF or bone marrow failure like CDA or something. So I hope you like it, and thank you.